Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We come to you after another Jet debacle on the Mike Francesa channel, on the Bet Rivers Network, on YouTube. Now, as I said to you before they played the Houston game, no matter what happened in the Houston game, and we all know they had the great second half in the Houston game, I wasn't going to take this team seriously until they got to 6-6. I didn't think they'd get to 6-6. I was hoping they'd give us something to have some fun with later in the season. Am I surprised by today? Not entirely. Am I surprised by the one-sided nature of this ball game? Yes. I thought we saw some decent things at the. I know Houston was banged up. I know they were banged up on the offensive line. They were missing some receivers. I understand they had guys out. Their best defense player got hurt during the game. But I saw some things I really thought were pretty good in that game. Now, today, they never showed up. They had a couple of decent drives that ended like a lot of jet drives do. They stall in the red zone, and they settle for field goals. But their defense never showed up, never had a clue how to play this game. And then to have the coach come out, okay? And listen, my objective here is not to pick on the interim head coach. Anybody is going to take that job and try to run with it. It's the chance of a lifetime. All right? You're an understudy somewhere, and you get thrust into a big job. You're never going to say no, even if you're not equipped for the job. He's not equipped for the job. That's obvious. But you're never going to not take a flyer on it. But the problem is, as I stated, when they came off the New England Thursday night win and laid the egg against Denver, then laid the egg the next week, that's when I went crazy and said, get rid of the head coach, get rid of Hackett. But I stressed that if Woody was ever going to do that, he had to bring people in to run the team. He needed to bring in an accomplished head coach and bring in an offensive coordinator, because there wasn't enough manpower, enough brain power, enough coaching power in that room. Because what he wound up doing was elevating someone in the room, making Hackett useless without firing him, just demoting him, and then taking the defensive coordinator and elevating him, making him the head coach. So now you've hurt the defense, and you lose Salah, who was a good defensive coordinator but a lousy head coach. So all you did was weaken the whole place. And that has showed. They are far weaker defensively than they were when Salah was here. Now, have they had a couple injuries? Yes, but their play has been inept. Now, they never wanted to make adjustments on defense because they think their defense is wonderful. But the bottom line is the guys who made that defense good the past couple of years aren't here, and the guys who are here are playing like garbage. And put Gardner at the top of the list. How about that missed tackle today? I mean, how many missed tackles have we seen from him this year? How many bad plays have we seen from him this year? If he goes near an all-star team, give me a break, okay, after what we've seen this year. And not just him. Play after play. I mean, today they were absolutely mortified by an Arizona team that looked good, but is not as good as it looked. I understand they're now playing very well. They've played well now 4 games in a row. Their quarterback was hot today, okay? But they made the tight end look like Kelsey Jr., or Kelsey in his prime, McBride. How many tackles did Connor and Benson and McBride break today? Play after play after play after play. What about setting an edge? What about the same nonsense we've seen from Clemens play after play all season? Can't set an edge, completely undisciplined, dumb mistakes, penalties, no cover. How about the play where McBride was 30 yards down the field? No one even knew where he was. There wasn't anybody within 20 yards of him. I mean, some of the stuff, they went out today and they went TD, 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 field goal, TD on their first 5 drives. How many times have you seen that? touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown. Then they weren't playing the Montana Niners today. I mean, it could not have been more one-sided. And then after moving the ball in the first half and settling for field goals because they, typical nonsense in the red zone and miscommunications and everything else, then they lose Smith at left tackle. And now you got breakdowns everywhere on the defensive line, not just because of him, but everywhere. And Buda Baker starts playing like, Troy Polamalu and starts killing everybody. And now Rodgers is getting teed off on play after play after play, and they can't do anything offensively in the second half either. So now they can't move the ball, and they can't stop the other team. And that's what we looked at. Again, off a win. This Jet team, off the two good games that it's played, the second half of the Houston game and the New England game on Thursday night, I think took these performances like, all right, we're there now. We can just, wait for everything to just turn around. Instead of putting in the effort and putting in the preparation, and have the coach come out today and say, we were not prepared to play. We were surprised by what they did. You had 10 days to prepare for this team. They don't make an adjustment because they just say, we'll play our system. Well, their system doesn't work. First of all, people have caught up with it. Secondly, they don't have the same personnel anymore. A lot of those guys are gone. And it shows. But then how does he stand there after the game and say, we're a prideful bunch and, the pride in the room? Pride in the room? Show me in that game when they've broken their 28th tackle where the pride is. While every time a Jet guy let me use Hall as an example because we know how talented Hall is in the open field. How come every time, and think about this if you're a Jet fan, every time Hall gets contacted, he goes down? I can't think of one time, even in the open field, he goes down. As soon as somebody puts a hand on him, he goes down. I can't remember him breaking a tackle all year. If it's open, he'll run, but as soon as he gets hit, he goes down. While their team, you know what? The opposition, they break this tackle, break that tackle, they break this tackle. McBride must have broken on 50 tackles on one play. I mean, it was ridiculous what we were watching today. I can't believe one team it looked like a bunch of pros playing against high school kids at one point. That's how easy it was for Arizona. It was pitch and catch. Hey, see if you can do this. See if you can handle this. Oh, you can't handle this? See if you can handle this. Or try this. You can't handle it. I mean, they had to be laughing on the Arizona sideline. That's how non-competitive this was. And you know what? Now they're 3-7. It's over. No one wants to hear about. You're not doing anything. This is now complete garbage. But it's garbage where you have guys with huge reputations who were brought in here. Think about it. You have Aaron Rodgers. You have Devontae Adams. You have young players who are considered to be big-time future stars in Hall and Wilson and Gardner. You have Williams. You have Reddick. And you stink. You're terrible. You're non-competitive. Just shows you pride. How can you even use the word pride? And I'm watching, and I really don't want to pick on Ulbrich, okay? I don't know him. Everyone seems to like him. That's fine. I understand why he tried to take the job. Anybody would. But, I mean, he is so overmatched, it's scary. At halftime, he comes on and does the interview. And he's like, "Well, yeah, we just got to get back to playing our defense." You don't have a defense anymore. You're getting singed. Your defense. And then, how do you think the offense played? I thought they were great in the first half. Great in the first half. What game were you watching? You came away with 2 field goals. You had 2 catches out of Wilson, no catches out of Adams, and not one 10-yard play in the game except for a 14-yard run by Hall, which I think was the first play of the game. Great on offense. Huh? I mean, are we on the same planet? What are we talking about here? And now, we'll have to go back and take it back to tackling. There's no taking this back anywhere. You have a 41-year-old, brittle, immortal quarterback who's got to be saying, "What did I do? What did I get?" And he deserves blame too because he's culpable for a lot of things that have gone on here. What did I do? Do you know? Did you see the play in the first half on third down where he gave a hand signal to Adams? Adams acknowledged it, and then they had a miscommunication on the play. How is that possible? How can Adams and Rodgers not communicate correctly? I mean, did they have amnesia? How is it possible that they can have a miscommunication? There was at least 3 plays in the first half where the guy did not run the route that Rodgers thought he was gonna run. You could tell by where the ball went, you could tell by Rodgers' expression. How is that possible this late in the season? And how is it possible with he and Davante Adams? I mean, this team couldn't run a 10-yard pass play when the game was on the line. And the offensive line, which was back in full force, well, yeah, did a great job, did it in the second half. Almost got them killed. And I think they called the dog. I mean, they did call the dogs off. There was no reason for them. They played for a field goal before the half. They could have played for a touchdown. And they kind of took it easy in the second half. Otherwise, this could have been worse. This was non-competitive football. They were moving at will offensively, at will. They had open receivers everywhere. They broke tackles on every play. They were anything they wanted, they got. Quarterback put it up, it was completed. The guy caught it, he broke a tackle. If he needed a first down, he broke 2 tackles. If he needed to break 3 tackles, he broke 3 tackles. He made every catch, and the Jets could do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, they've been moved out of prime time mercifully. And you just wish they could just move them somewhere to just hide them for the rest of the season because there's nothing to think about. Because once this team didn't have playoffs, which is what they were built for, what the whole idea of this was playoffs. There are no playoffs. There is no season here. There's no season for the Giants, which is not unexpected, and there's no season for the Jets, which is highly unexpected because there's no way they should have been this bad. But even when Woody makes the right move, and the Salah thing made sense, but he didn't know what to do when he executed it. He had to bring in coaching strength and coaching experience because this was now an incredibly limited, weak coaching staff, as bad as probably we've seen in this league in a long time now. This team is so badly coached, it is scary. I mean, it really is. It's almost hard to fathom how badly put together they are. And, will they win a game one day? Maybe. Who cares? You have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. You have Devontae Adams and Wilson at wide receiver. You have Hall at running back. You got Pro Bowl players all over the place, and they stink. Don't talk to me about pride or execution, competency, or anything else. These are a bunch of dogs playing like bums. Let's be honest. When a team's good, you got to say it. When a team is just rotten to the core, you got to say that too. You can excuse the Giants a little bit for their ineptitude. The Jets are just a waste, just completely a waste in every way. So the question you have now is not this season because these last group of games mean nothing. Nothing. There's not anything redeeming that will come out of this. Nothing. So the question is, where are you going from here? Is Woody going back to work in the second Trump presidency? A lot of talk that he is. I don't know if he is or he isn't. Is he very close to Trump? Yes. Has he been involved in the Trump hierarchy? Yes. Has he been involved in the finance of these two presidential runs? Yes. There's a lot of talk that he will take a position. I don't know that he will or he won't. Now, if he does, Chris Johnson is co-owner. His younger brother, you know that. Now, if you are under the wishful thought that they would sell the franchise, I doubt it very much. See, Woody, in all his ineptitude in running the franchise, still hit a home run buying the franchise because, hey, you can't go wrong buying an NFL franchise. He bought that franchise. He outbid Dolan. And I don't remember if there was a third bidder or not. I don't think so. I think it was really him and Dolan it came down to. He bought that franchise for $635 million in 2000. If you take everything into account now, the stadium deal and everything else, that franchise is worth now in 2000. So he's owned the team for 24 years. They bought it for $635 million. Now it is probably worth somewhere between 6 and 7 billion. Yeah, 6 and 7 billion. So he has made 10 times his money. Now, you have to take a collection up for him anyway. He's a multi-billionaire. So it's not like he was going to be, fighting for loose change anyway. He's probably worth $3 or $4 billion himself. I mean, that's a kind of a good family business they had there going back, called Johnson and Johnson. Would it be a home run if they sold it? Absolutely. They could sell it probably for play hardball, maybe $7 billion. Would someone buy it? There'd be people lined up to buy it tomorrow. Ownership would probably come from Wall Street, and it's a different kind of ownership now. You have one name guy who's a billionaire on paper because you need that to have the front guy, and then you put together these pieces and you go from there. Would that be good for the franchise? Yes, it would from a fan standpoint because maybe then they'd do things the right way, but you're not guaranteed that. Look at Tepper in Carolina. Tepper was a Wall Street whiz. He's been awful in Carolina. And he's a smart man. If you've ever listen, I've watched Tepper on TV talk about business and talk about stocks. He's a brilliant businessman. Doesn't know anything about the NFL. You see, that's what happens with these guys a lot of times. Is these guys now? Woody's a little different. He was born wealthy, so I don't know what his expertise is, except he was born into the right family. The bottom line is, though, this was a smart investment. A very, very smart, successful investment. Now, if you have $635 million, you should make a bundle on it over 25 years. But You're talking about turning 600 million into 7 billion during that time. So kudos from that standpoint. Probably what you're going to be left with is either Woody still here, but maybe with his attention diverted, or Woody gone and Chris Johnson now completely in charge of the franchise. You had that when Woody was in England. And what you came up with was this regime. Chris Johnson hired the general manager. Chris Johnson hired Salah. Woody didn't hire either one of them, although he did put a nod on Salah, from my understanding. So are they going to get it right? No. They're probably not, because they never get it right. When they get it wrong, they get it right. The one thing that's different that I know of with the two is that Woody has always been in love with the big quarterback. He has always been in love with the star quarterback. That's why he wanted Brett Favre. That's why he wanted Aaron Rodgers. Problem is, he got them too late. I didn't think that they could completely screw up somebody as good as Aaron Rodgers. I was wrong. They completely have. And he has helped. They completely have. The offensive line has not been, while it did improve itself immeasurably in terms of personnel from last year to this year, they have not meshed as a unit. They have not provided the run blocking nor the pass protection that we expected them to. And that includes the very, very talented left tackle who I wanted badly, who has not played up to his standard this year either. Be the first to admit it. But offensive lines are about cohesion. They're about coaching. They're about cohesion. And that has not, and versatility. And that has not happened here. Do I think you could get lucky enough to get a new owner? I doubt it. I really doubt it. Maybe that happens in the next 5 years, but I don't think it happens no matter what Woody does. I think all you're going to be left with is Chris Johnson again at the outside, or Woody diverted, which you can't tell the difference if he's diverted or not. With his attention diverted, would you know the difference between that and when Woody's actually got his attention on football? The answer is no. Remember, the Jets do things differently than a lot of teams do. And listen, a lot of teams screw it up. You know, it's not as easy to get back to a Super Bowl as you think. It's not as easy to win as you think. The biggest mistake that Woody ever made was getting rid of Mangini. Because if he had left Mangini alone, they were going to build something really good. But as I've said to you many times, and I knew Mangini very well, Mangini and I were pretty close. We still talk. Mangini did not treat the owner with the respect that he deserved. He was wrong, and I think he knows that. He didn't. He made immature mistakes. He said things he shouldn't have said. He should have remembered who the boss was. And that's why after 3 years, 2 of them winning and putting together a nucleus that was about to do the right thing and win, he was gone. We know what happened right after that. We know what the future is after that. We know how many bad mistakes they've made. And I have to admit, I thought Rodgers could come here and lift this franchise. I was wrong. He couldn't. I didn't think he had to automatically take him to a Super Bowl, but I did think he would take him this year to the playoffs. And this thing has just crashed and burned on so many levels. And today was a different level of low, but been heading there because the coaching move made the team worse. It made the team weaker because it hurt the defense while not helping the offense enough. They got Reddick in way too late, and they lost some games early in the season that they should have won. And if they had, days like today wouldn't have happened. So from a Jet standpoint, you're basically where you often are. The Jets are about to clean house again. I don't know whether that means Rodgers leaves or stays for another year. I don't know what his plans are. I don't know what the team's plans are. I don't know if he tries to do this one more time or not. There's no long term future here, obviously. And I think since the general manager had nothing to do with the firing of the head coach, you got to figure he's done. And you have to figure the coaching staff is completely done. The only question you have now is Woody going to pick the head coach with Chris Johnson, or is Chris Johnson going to pick him while Woody's off being ambassador to somewhere else or having some other job in Trump's new regime? That I don't know. But I don't think if your wish is that they sell it, I don't, even though they'd make an incredible profit and not have to deal with the public headache anymore, I don't think they will do that. Why? A couple of reasons. One, it's a great investment. It's a great investment. It continues to produce revenue and it continues to produce money. And number two, I think they like being the owners of the team. Even though more days are negative, I mean, it's got to be tedious for him, I would think, to fly across the country to watch his team play like garbage. I know it would drive me nuts. I don't know how he just, takes that with a grain of salt, but I guess you get used to it when it's happened as long as it's happened for him. So the franchise is nowhere. It's back where it's been so many times. In a state where you just don't have any faith that they're going to make the right decision. They're going to make decisions. Will they make the right one? Probably not. They rarely do. And I don't know what happens with Rodgers going forward because clearly, this has not worked out to anybody's satisfaction. And you thought that even if this disappointed, it would disappoint by falling a game short in January, where they were playing the last game of the season and playing for a playoff spot and got their heart broken 31-30 on a late field goal. Not that they would go out unceremoniously in Arizona in early November in a game where Rodgers couldn't even connect with Davante Adams. With Davante Adams. Think about that. With Davante Adams. We watched them in Green Bay. Okay? Act like they had magical powers together. That they had some kind of way of communicating that was unworldly or above worldly. They were so good together. They were so dynamic together. You see that graphic today that Rodgers had 68 games where he had 3 or more touchdown passes and no intercepts in his career. 68 games like that. You look at some of his numbers and they're mind-boggling. This man won the MVP 4 times. This is one of the great players in the history of the sport. And he has been relegated to just common status here, where he can't even get on the same page and get a first down. Sad. Very sad. But you know what? Very jet-like. Typically jet-like. But you don't have to tell their fan base that. They know that. And to have it crash and burn, to have it 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, better almost, but more than 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, have the New York football season be over already is just a colossal mess. It really just ripped the heart out of this football season. And frankly, We all expected more. You had to. There was no reason not to believe that they could even mess this player of this magnitude up. Could they mess him up to this level? Sad. And to watch this team now, which is so inept and so badly put together and so badly coached. The only one that comes out looking good here is Salah. You know what? He's the one probably laughing. And he didn't deserve better. But he got better because he got out of here. And that might be the only thing that any of these guys can really do to advance things or to improve things is just get out of here. That's how bad it is. It's toxic. We'll see you later.